everybody. Welcome. Hope everybody enjoyed the bye week. I know you've been busy with other things, but hopefully everybody enjoyed the bye week. Happy to be 3-0, and now we get into conference play, which everybody's looking forward to, so we're excited about that as well. But we're now 0-0. Everybody knows that. Our team knows that. We had a really good bye week with practice, meetings, walkthroughs, plus a little time to rest and heal. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
PJ, in the Georgia Southern game, Wildcat not so effective. Didn't use it that many times. You'd run it so effectively all last season, and it was at a point even last season where everybody in the stadium seemingly knew what was going to happen, but yet it worked. What was the difference?
Well, it was new. It was something new, right? Plus, when Rodney and Shannon went out last year, before we knew about Muhammad Ibrahim, right, in terms of proving himself throughout the course of the year, and Bryce Williams throughout the course of the year, you're looking at, okay, well, we got two freshmen. How are we going to run the ball? And so that's where the Wildcat with Seth Green was invented. We're going to use it. We're going to still use it. We're going to mix up how we use it as we continue to get into Big Ten play. But do we need it as much is more of the question based on the running back situation we have. I think that's more the question to be able to ask. But Seth's a tremendous talent, and we're going to use him as best we possibly can as the quarterback, as the Wildcat, and then obviously as a wide receiver. But he's developing into a really good receiver too.
You like the offensive line a lot coming out of the spring, during the spring. What's your evaluation of it through the first three games?
Well, I really like him. I mean, I like our offensive line. But, again, there's not a senior on that offensive line right now. Just because I like them doesn't mean that they're the best offensive line in America, right? They need to continue to get better. We need to continue to get better. It's a growth in progress every single week, every single day. There's some things we got to continue to iron out and get better at. But again, it's still really, really a young group up front that needs to get better, needs to play better together. And whether we've got to rotate some guys in there or whether we got to keep the group the same, we're going to look at every option to be able to make it the best five that we possibly can in that particular play, in that particular drive, and in that particular situation.
Are there differences in styles if they go with the freshman instead of Sandelar?
I don't think so. I really don't. I don't see it on the film based on last week and then when Sindelar's been in. Whether it's Jack or whether it's Sindelar, I mean, they're both really good quarterbacks. Sindelar's obviously got more experience and played a lot more games, probably a little bit more comfort with the system. But they spread you out from sideline to sideline, goal line to goal line. I mean, you have to cover everybody. Rondale Moore gets a lot of the credit. He's a really good player. He's going to get his touches no matter what. Somehow, some way, he's going to get his touches. You cannot just take him out of the game. He's going to touch the football. You got to rally around him. You got to tackle really well. He's strong. I mean, he's a 650-pound squatter, maybe even more by now. And he's really talented. But in terms of the quarterback, their system's designed, in my opinion, watching it, no matter who's in there, to be able to have success. And they do a great job of creating explosive plays. I think they're top 40 in the country in explosive plays. And whether it's flea flickers that would be trick plays to some people, and they're run 4 times a game, or whether it's reverses or screens or it's gadgets, they're going to find ways to move the football. And that offense is designed that way. And they're averaging a lot of yards for a reason. And it's not just number 4. They have a great supporting cast. They have really good talent in terms of their depth at the wide receiver position. And then they're taking number 33 and moving them back in the backfield as well so they can be able to get more in the run game as well as their other running backs. So part of what makes that offense really good, it's very creative. And I'm sure that with a bye week, they're going to be really creative.
How do you have depth at running back? Does Shannon bring something unique to that group?
Well, I think all of our backs bring something unique. I think Shannon brings something else. He's healthy. He hasn't played yet. I think there's that spunk, that look in his eye that he cannot wait to get back onto the field. And you combine him with our other backs, I think that's where we want to be. 1 week later, we're where we want to be. 1 week ago, we're sitting there warming up Trey Potts, and everybody's talking about our depth at running back, and Trey Potts took every rep of the scout team. Now we're warming him up. I'm sitting there going, what's going on? But that's why you need, as Glenn Mason would say, that pair and the spare. You need to be able to have the pair and the spare, and then the extra in the trunk of another pair and a spare, just in case in the Big Ten as you continue to go through league play.
Any other favorite Mason sayings you referred to?
That's the one I know. That's the one I know. So.
How valuable has Chris Williamson's versatility been through these first 3 games?
I think, one thing I'll say about Chris Williamson, he's grown up a lot. His work ethic has gone through the roof. His commitment to his teammates, commitment to himself, commitments to football has gone through the roof. I think when people transfer in sometimes and they get in here and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to this place and I'm going to be able to play right away. And then you get in there and you realize it's a lot harder than you thought. He's grown up a lot. But being able to play nickel, play corner, I think he's become more physical. He's become way more confident. He's invested in his body like I've never seen him do it before within the last year. And when he truly decided to commit to it, he's become a really good football player. Not only that, he's got one of the best personalities on our football team. He is absolutely hilarious. You get around Chris, he makes you smile. He's a guy that is infectious. His personality, his leadership. He's really done a great job with that secondary, in my opinion. And I think we're a better football team with him on the field.
PJ, how has being tested in each of your first 3 games help you in terms of just going on the road, a hostile environment for your first Big Ten game?
Well, like we said at the beginning of the year, when we're talking about your non-conference schedule, they're 32-8. People can criticize that all they want. There are 8 Mountain West teams that beat Power 5 schools this year. We weren't one of them. So when you look at the group of 5 and you look at whatever it is, these were champions that we were playing against of their respective conferences. And, we had to find a way to win. We made a lot of mistakes, but that credits our opponent as well. But we found a way to win, and it's not the result. Just like when I was here year 1 and year 2. The result's the result. The result's at the end of the game. After 60 minutes, you look up and see what the score is. But it's how you got there. We have to be better at the things that we need to get better at that got us to that result, the process-driven things, the details, the fundamentals. There's things that happened in our game that maybe I haven't seen in a whole year of football, let alone happened in the last 6 minutes of a game. But they were able to overcome that. Not only overcome that, on the offensive side, 3rd and 30, it's Demetrius Douglas who makes the 2 big plays. At Fresno State, it's Chris Altman-Bell. Right, at South Dakota State, it's Rashad Bateman. And Georgia Southern, it was Tyler Johnson in the last second. So what I like about it is everybody's getting the pressure and the expectation to put the ball in their hand, and they're performing at a high level. These are the lessons that, this is why we coach, in my opinion, right? These are the lessons that whether you win or lose, whether people get hired or fired, these are the lessons they're going to learn and they're going to take with them as husbands, as fathers, as brothers, as sons. This is what's going to make them the man that they are. They're going to be able to believe when somebody's not believing in them. They're going to be able to find a way to run their company or get their company out of something that maybe is really tough. Maybe get them their family and lead their family out of a very, very, very difficult situation. When we got done with that drive, when we got back in the locker room, and usually after I get done with all of you, I sit in my locker room and I just sit there. And I leave the stadium pretty late. And I usually talk to Garrett Chernoff and Heather. Those are the 2 that actually will listen to me at that point. And I told Garrett, I said, I want that 3rd and 30 in my office somehow, some way. And next day, Garrett has this 3rd and 30 printed out, framed, already on my desk, and it's sitting right behind my desk. It's a powerful picture because at that moment, there were a lot of people who thought we were going to lose that game. And people always said, what's the hardest thing about the University of Minnesota's job? I said, changing people's thoughts, perceptions, ideas. And that's what I mean, that it isn't over. It's not time to leave yet. And I appreciate our fans sticking around and staying. And I hope people see that this team's got something to them. What that is, we'll find out over the course of the next 10 weeks. But they have something to them, and it's special. Whatever the result is, whatever the number is, they have something special that's teaching them lessons for the rest of their life. And, again, that's why at least I coach, and that's why I'm in this profession, because they're learning those lessons, and that's what we focus on when we're teaching that lifetime lesson during the bye week.
What option was Douglas on that 3rd and 30?
He was number 2 option.
What does it say about, some people look at him as your 4th wide receiver, that in that situation, he's one of your primary.
Well, for us to have success, we feel that all of our receivers have to have the ability to make plays. So maybe in the years past, we were saying, okay, we're going to do everything we can, whether it's formationally or whether it's motion, whether it's formation somebody hasn't seen, just to free up that one person. But if that one person's not open, we got a problem. I don't think we have that anymore. I think we have the ability for our guys to make plays. Now, all 3 of those guys behind Tyler are sophomores. They're young. They're still developing. Quarterback's a sophomore. Offensive line, there's no seniors. But they have the talent inside of them to find a way to make a play. Because last year, a lot of them, you look even at the Purdue game, we didn't make many plays last year. I've watched it 20 times, and we dropped 6 passes. And now they've come this far to be able to make those catches. That just shows how much they've grown. Are we where we want to be yet? Absolutely not. We got a long way to go. A long way to go. But it just shows that we can run our system. And I think from the first 3 games, what we saw based on our team, run our system, let our players play, continue to evolve and add to it and put them in the best position to be successful. But we can run and not worry about, hey, this guy's got to get this catch on this play. And I think they've all earned that.
What's been the precedent when you've done self-scout in previous years? And then what's the process when you do it? Does Shiraka tell Rossi what's going on and vice versa? How does it how's the process done?
Yeah, as a coach, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, everybody knows that saying, and I'm sure Coach Mason said that as well at some point, right? Every coach has said that, right? But that's what we want even our coaches to be. It's my job to find a way to get everybody in the organization to fail every day. We define failing as growth. Failure is quit. Big difference. It's my job to make sure they fail, they grow, everybody comes back tomorrow wanting to be here, right? So there's a balance to that, right? And how you do that's very careful. During the bye week, it's always uncomfortable. Everybody wants to get on to the next week. I don't want to go on to the next week yet. All right, let's give our players some time off to get away. And us coaches, let's get together and let's scout each other. Let's game plan each other. And I remember I told our staff, and they're sitting there going, you want us to game plan each other? Shouldn't we be doing something else? I'm like, listen, we're going to game plan each other. We're going to take a whole day. And just like we would game plan an opponent on first and second down and third down, we're going to game plan each other. It'll take a lot less because we know each other's personnel, but we can evaluate that. And even so, we wrote up everything on every player we have, just as we were going to play them, all the schematics, all the formations, all the tendencies. It's an uncomfortable meeting. And, Joe's talking to Kirk, Kirk's talking to Joe, Coach Wanger's talking to himself. But it's one that we all had to hear. And for me, it's also really healthy for me to hear what other people's perspectives are. And if you never take time to look at yourself, you're always comparing yourself to someone else. Listen, my responsibility is this football team, not somebody else's, right? So I've got to make sure that our staff, our coaches, our players are all on the same page, and that was one of the things we did. And I thought it was a wonderful exercise. We've done it before, but I think this particular team, I thought it was really good for.
What concerned Rossi more, your run game or your pass, your wide receivers?
I think it was a combination. Because I think, as Rossi got to it, he wanted to be very balanced. And, he goes through what he thinks strengths and weaknesses are. And whether you agree or disagree with those are real. Those are what show up on film. And then Rossi knows our team a lot better than anybody else. So I think he was pretty spot on with, his evaluation of the offense. And then Kirk was spot on the defense. And Coach Wanger is always spot on with the special teams of evaluating himself because he does that every single day. I mean, he's a grinder.
Did you come up with that self-scouting, or did somebody you learned from Tressel or somewhere else along the way? Or?
I'm sure I learned it at some point, but I did it at Western Michigan at some point, and this is the first time we've really done it here. I think it's necessary at certain points, and I thought this year it was really necessary for this. And there's only so much time in the day, right? And we have a certain way of doing things, and sometimes you can't wait to get to that routine. But sometimes when you get to take a breath and you have some time, you've got to use your time wisely, and that's what I felt we needed to be able to look at ourselves as well as our opponent as we continue to go through the days, and then obviously recruiting, and then our players and everything else that it goes into.
BJ, that first conference road game of the last couple seasons didn't go your way. First road game for conference play this year. How have you seen maybe the mental toughness kind of get more and more build up going into this game, perhaps to see a different result?
It's a good question. The one thing I'll say is that it's like when people say you make your most improvement from game 1 to game 2. I think you make your most improvement every week. You have to, especially in the Big Ten. And if you're not, you're going to get passed and you're going to get beat. So the first game, right, when you look at it as okay, we haven't won the first 2 games of conference play the last 2 years. I don't look at that like everybody else looks at that. I think that's more for just kind of talk throughout the week. We're either going to win or we're going to lose. It's one or the other, right? Obviously, we want to be on one side of that more than the other, but it's the preparation. We can't look at it that way. It's like getting just fired up for one game less or more than another game. They're all equally important. And the most important game is the next game. No matter if that's the 4th game of the season or whether that's the first game of conference play, they're all equally important. And there's a lot of teams in this league that have started 1-3 and won the league. A lot of teams have been undefeated and won the league. A lot of teams have started undefeated and didn't win the league. So we've just got to be better today than we were yesterday, and that's what we're going to continue to focus on.
Do you have any update on Zach and his recovery and what the timetable is?
Yeah, he got last week he got a new scooter, 4 wheels instead of 3. So he upgraded, and he said he liked that a little bit better. Kept getting a flat tire with his other one. And then he finally got off the scooter the other day. He's in a walking boot and was throwing after practice today, and that's Zach. So that's where he's at. He's doing really good, though. I mean, he was throwing on a scooter, too. I mean, the guy just can't wait to just throw the football.
At times you've tried to raise expectations for what this program can attain. At times you've tried to manage expectations for certain teams. What should the expectations for this team be?
It sounds like coach speak. For people that know me, I'm going to say the same thing. We're going to be better today than we were yesterday. And that was the same thing when, we were 0-4 in the league last year, and then we won some games. We wanted to be better today than we were yesterday. And when you coach young people that are 17 to 22, if you're not just focusing on just that moment, you don't have them. Like they're somewhere else, right? And so everything in our program is designed to focus on the now, right? The now will create the then. And if you're looking at the then before you look at the now, you got a problem. I think our team knows that we can be pretty good, whatever that pretty good means, because they've seen how they've gotten to where they have, but they've also seen how they've gotten to where they have on the positive side and the negative side. And when they're very humble and they're very willing to listen and they're coachable and they want to get better, our players have organized their own meetings away from the coaches, and not to separate things, but just to say, hey, listen, this is what we have to do as players. If coach always talks about a player-led team, we have to be able to do this. They're not the ones going to be playing, and they're not the ones that are going to be making the plays. These are the things we have to fix, and then we have to move forward. Because it's not a lot of things, but there's these small fundamental details that we have to get better at, that they have to be able to see, be very honest with themselves, very real with themselves, and then go fix. So in terms of the expectations, again, that's what I've always said our expectation is. We want to be better today than we were yesterday. And if we do that, it should be a pretty good football team.
We got one more for Coach. PJ, when you play 3 games where you have to come back in the fourth quarter, is it more of a coachable experience? Is it easier to get those guys to listen to you as opposed to if those first 3 are just easy walks in the park?
I hope it's always easy to listen to you as a coach, right? I hope your team always responds to you. I think every coach wants that. I don't think you never want a team that will just listen to you when they needed a wake-up call. Not letting the circumstance dictate your behavior is very big of a part of our culture. It's a very big part of how we play, how we are academics. We have 85 kids over a 3.0 right now, 85 football players. And that's an expectation when you talk about expectations. They're better today than they were yesterday. So in terms of how our team responds, I never want them to be responding based on just a circumstance, and this one's bigger than this one. I never want that. But when you win fourth quarter games as close as we have, it's up to that coach to capture that and then teach the moments off of that. But everything we've taught is the result's the result. We're 3-0. We could easily be 0-3 right now. Easily, right? I think everybody in the room would agree. But we found a way to be 3-0. Well, how did we get to that? And what are the things that made us that? That's what we want to focus on. But if we start focusing on just the result and, hey, we did this and we need to move on, I'm not one to say, hey, let's just move on from that. We need to squeeze all the juice from that orange that we possibly can and dissect that game from top to bottom and left to right to make sure that we get everything out of it. So I think that's what we kind of look at and keep moving forward. Appreciate everybody. Row the boat, Sky Ma. Go Gophers. Thanks, everybody.